That was the first step that I took, and it was probably the best step I took, because it offered an opportunity for me to attend, networking events and get my name out there. And I actually started volunteering my services with the chamber and doing work for them so that they could become advocates for me when they saw opportunities.
We love volunteers and cheap labor, but Angie has become just a huge asset to this larger business community. So let's talk a little bit about what your pathway was. Now, you talked about the nuts and bolts of your job pathway and being, deciding to stay at home, but you've also had other experience that has been practical application of your skills.
Right, and sometimes you do things without even realizing that there's an application to what I do in my business. When I first stayed home, one of the most important things to me was to network and meet other people that were doing what I was doing, that from a mom perspective. And that actually turned out to be one of the best networking things I could have done, because there are a lot of people like me in terms of formerly corporate America, now staying home, wanting to avoid being isolated and really needing to meet people that were doing the same thing that I was doing. At the same time, we've all aged together, our kids have grown together, and the organization was Mom's Club for me. And then typically what happens with that group is that you age out of the group. Now, when I was in Mom's Club, of course, I wasn't just a member.
Age out?
You age out. Let me explain. But when I first joined, it took me about 6 months before I was on the board of Mom's Club as the secretary. And then beyond that, I was president. And with that came, again, utilizing organizational skills, managing a emailing list, and a calendar and a newsletter, and again, all things in hindsight I could recognize were building a skill set for me to get actually paid for it. So, in going back to the aging out, what typically you would see in a mom's club is when you have toddlers at home, you have time to go out and do things, go to the park, go to coffee, those types of events. And then as your kids start getting into school, you start to drop out of the toddler environment and you have more free time where maybe you can do something during the day or have more flexibility in your time. And a lot of times you don't want to hang out with toddlers and babies anymore. And so, yeah, and so what happens is that you age out and you just kind of go on your own and do your own thing. And we were a pretty tight community and didn't want to lose that. And so it usually takes someone taking the initiative to make sure that doesn't happen. And so a new group was formed. We call LAF, L-A-F, Life After 5. Oh, and again, it's so we can stay in touch. We manage an email list. We have a calendar of events. We have things that, again, are more geared towards moms without kids or more free time and don't involve children. But it's, again, that networking, keeping the network connected, because now you're looking at moms that have the opportunity to do work but don't necessarily have the flexibility of going to work 9 to 5, dealing with before and after school care, those types of things. But again, doing what I do, I am looking to the future, and there's only so many hours in a day that I can physically do work. But if I have an army of subcontractors out there that are skilled and can do work remotely and need flexibility, there's my network.
I think one thing that we were talking about before we went on camera is the idea of you never know where your skill sets are going to come from. And I think I mentioned to you, everything that I know today came from volunteerism. I mean, certainly you go to college and you have, job experiences, but having that actual application of your skills in volunteerism has been huge. Running a booster club, running a women, moms group, and we cannot tell job seekers enough that if you're looking for a job right now and you're really having trouble finding it, another way to get experience is to volunteer with an association or an organization that aligns with where you want to find employment, and volunteer with them. And that can be a resume item going forward. So
absolutely.
Not to digress from
absolutely.
that, but that cannot be understated how valuable that is.
And then the other thing too, I'm an active churchgoer, but they needed a website. And so through my husband's IT company, I developed their website. And then I work as a volunteer directly with the staff teach them how to make the updates themselves and pretty much turn it over to them once the website was developed. I'm also a wedding coordinator at church. So again, pulling in organizational skills, meeting people, another great way to get the word out.
Grassroots.
Absolutely.
Networking.
Absolutely.
Using every possible opportunity. And honestly, I've had CEOs, CFOs, business executives call me and they're saying, well, my job search isn't going very well. And you're one of the people I always highlight, not by name, of course, but kind of how you go about that organic search for a job. It's using every contact that you have to, promote yourself, promote your skills. So, well, we really became just good friends and close in the development of an Eagan executive women's group.
Correct.
And that's when I really saw how a virtual office could help an organization. Formed 3 years ago, kind of a loosely aligned group of women to network, and having you as the centerpiece of keeping everybody informed, really made such a difference on convening the group. Right.
And being able to identify opportunities to, again, streamline and make our time spent together efficient, capture discussions so that if I'm hearing, we should do this or we should do that, okay, let's put a name to that, let's assign a due date to that, and kind of pulling that all together. I kind of consider myself at times kind of an action-oriented person.
Really? Angie, not you.
I know, it's crazy. But I just, okay, here's what I'm hearing. Right. Are you asking me to do this? Because I'm going to do it. So, it's one thing to have an idea. And I always laugh. Do you remember there was a consulting commercial on a long time ago? And it was gentlemen in an office, and they were telling this man all kinds of things that he needs to do with his business, blah, blah, blah. And the gentleman behind the counter said, let's do it. And the consultant said, oh, we don't actually do the work. And I guess that's where Extended Office is different. We can be that consultant, and we can come in and hear what you're saying and apply technology to make your operations run better, but then we actually do the work.
Huge. Well, and I think the other thing that I've learned from you too is many times business owners are the visionary, especially people that are starting up. And they're the visionary. They're the ones who see kind of where the company needs to go, but that nuts and bolts.
Idea people.
It's the idea people, and you and I work very well together because, I can have an idea and you're like, okay, here are the steps that you need to do. Focus. But that's so true. That's why, again, having you as the green curtain person can be so beneficial for a business owner who's flailing. I mean, how many people I have heard business owners over and over and over talk about, I cannot get to the things that need to happen for the company because I'm doing payroll, I'm doing budgets, I'm doing the nuts and bolts of what has to happen, paying taxes.
One of the things, if you go to my website, ExtendedOffice.com, is you will see on there the biggest question I ask people is, it's not a question of can you do it. The question is, should you be doing it? Should you, as the owner of your company, be bogged down in payroll and doing your bookkeeping, your day-to-day bookkeeping? Time and time again, I see clients come in and they haven't touched their books in 3 years. 3 years of just the day-to-day. Now, of course, bookkeeping, oh, how glamorous. It's so fun. Nobody wants to do bookkeeping, but I like doing bookkeeping, and I do it using technology so that it is not, I'm a huge proponent of paperless offices, getting everything electronically, and again, utilizing technology to download transactions. I'm not entering transactions in a checkbook register. I'm downloading them, and I'm electronically reconciling and generating reports. I had a client I was talking to yesterday that said, I really need to be analyzing my books on a monthly basis. I don't know what it's going to take for me to get in there and run a P&L and run a balance sheet and see where I'm really at. And I said, I can generate those reports for you, and I can email them to you when I do my weekly status of the bookkeeping transactions. And it was a light bulb moment.